Hold up.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdouts Newsstand, and today I have Bianca with me back on Bad Ideas, and we are going to talk about the best, and by best, I mean the absolute worst, most cringy superhero movie ever created, and that is Catwoman from 2004 with Halle Berry. We both watched it last night. We're both still mildly recovering. What were your initial thoughts, Bianca?
Why? Why?
To put it in perspective, The Dark Knight Rises came out the next year.
You're lying.
That movie, and when I was looking it up, that movie had a $100 million budget. The CGI on it should have been perfect. Like, it had the same budget as a Harry Potter movie.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No. Oh my gosh, you're lying. That's not true. That makes sense. The choreography is terrible too. Oh my god. So many cuts and edits in that movie. I like watching it in 125 speed, and having the cutouts, the edits was making me nauseous. I'm like, wait, this is going too fast. Everybody's cutting in different scenes. It's like they really tried to make it look cool and think, wow, this is a good artistic whatever. And I'm just like, no, you did it way too much. This is like
the drone shots too.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're doing too much of cutting, you're doing too much of editing. It's like overuse of Zack Snyder's slow motion. Except this movie is just like cuts. Oh, this is him talking on one side. Boom, we reversed it. Now he's talking on the other side. And then they did it like 4 more times. And I'm like, no, please, relax.
Well, I was shocked. Like, when I went into this movie, I haven't seen it all the way before this. I had just seen shots here and there. And I'm looking at this movie and I'm like, this feels very 90s to me. This, like the basketball scene and all of that. And I'm like, it feels very 90s. It feels very, like, even before, like, the whole movies where she walks into the room and she's the nerd, but she takes her hair down and she's beautiful. Even before all those movies came out. And I look it up and it's 2004. I'm like, what went wrong? What went wrong? And it's not even Selena Kyle. Like, can you imagine if this movie came out right now with how people want their source material very comic accurate?
Outrage.
Oh my god. It was so I don't know much about Halle Berry. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything else except for when she played Storm. She's a terrible actress. Now, I don't know if it was the script or what, but if I never have to see that woman again act in anything, that's okay. Because all I'll think is her weird shots where she's like lifting her head up and trying to act like a cat. Like, I almost, with the way they went about like the catnip and everything, I was like, if we see her use a litter box, I'm just going to die. I'm just going to die. Like, what is wrong with these people? Oh, the writing was so bad. So let's start in the beginning. That overlay, like when she first is introduced and she's like dead, floating in the river.
Yeah.
It's so like she does that over, what is it called? Like that monologue, right?
Yeah.
And she never does it again. That narration over. And she never does that again. That's the only time.
Well,
and then
the ending, of course.
Oh, yes, you are right. It's like, it reminds me of like, I don't know, like how Spider-Man was, the first Spider-Man, but really in a terrible, twisted fashion. Mm-hmm. And then like she's running into everybody. Like when she's walking up to work, she can't even walk straight. Like, I get they're trying to make her nerdy and goofy.
And clumsy,
but does she have to walk into every single person? Like, that takes
I'm sorry.
art.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god. And then the side characters. What did you think about her friend? You know, the girl that plays her friend is the voice of Lois from Family Guy?
No. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
I looked
really
at that
is.
lady, I'm like, "I know you. I've seen you before. Who did you play?" But I didn't even know that she played Lois. That's amazing. She did such a good annoying voice.
She does. She's funny in real life. The thing is like every single character in the whole movie, there's not a single good one. They're all so two-dimensional. Like the only reason that girl is in the movie is to talk about hot men. That's
I
it.
don't see any bad thing wrong with that, though.
Like, but there's nothing to her character. Like,
I know.
and that,
That's the only reason why I like Sally.
well, yeah, she just annoyed me because, like, she's in the hospital and her main concern is a man or patience, man. The whole point of her going into the hospital, right, was because she was using the face cream. And the side effects of the face cream were if you stopped using it, you would become like, you would have, scarring and look monstrous. But why is she the only character that repeatedly uses this face cream, but then doesn't have any issues with it when she stops? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that I don't understand. Like when she puts it on, that's when she starts getting the mild symptoms like the headaches and everything, which is weird because usually if you put on a product and you realize that you're getting like symptoms of headaches, it could be an allergy or an intolerance to an ingredient in the product, where that's where you have to discontinue use. But like they only show her actually wearing the product. They don't show anybody else wearing the product. But they say, "Oh, the long-term effect is this ugly scarring on your face, uh, especially like because you become addicted to it or
Right.
something like that." And I'm just like, okay, but where are the other people? Like you only use people you use as like an experiment to get the results, but not everybody else, literally everybody else in the movie, but there's only one girl you see constantly wearing it, and she doesn't have the effects yet, and we don't know how long she's been using it for.
Well, are you talking about Sharon Stone's character?
Is that the girl who plays Sally?
Yeah. No, no, no. Sharon Stone is the blonde lady with short hair, the bad girl.
Oh, I thought her hair was white. Was it not white?
Well, white, blonde, yeah. But
Oh,
so the other effects of it are if you use it too much, your skin becomes like marble
yeah, like tough marble.
and you don't have any pain. Like that whole idea could work out really well if it was done well. And I know a lot of people don't, but I actually like the idea of Catwoman having a softer kind of female villain, whereas it makes more sense, right? Like you can have people like Ra's al Ghul or Fowler at Valley, but having this for a movie, I think could work if the writing was done right. But scenes like that basketball scene where they're in front of a bunch of kids.
And the guy just lifted up his shirt.
I know,
I'm like,
and she's like
no.
sticking out her butt. Like, what is wrong with you guys? If this was in real life, all of these kids would be getting their parents. Like, what is wrong with you?
Oh my
It's so
god.
bad.
Thank God I'm watching this at a faster speed. Don't want to watch this at a regular slow speed.
You're so lucky.
I had to rent it on YouTube. But
Did
that
you
it's yes.
no, what about those the scenes on where like I love her costume, honestly. I don't think it's bad. There could be some tweaks to it, but she looks great in it. Did you notice how in those CGI shots when she's walking on the building, she's not even moving?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I
She
noticed.
so they must have had her on a treadmill or something, right? Um
Yeah.
and you
I
if
thought
you
she was
look at the
walking
back,
weird.
yeah, it was
It's like
super
she was
weird
very
with
stiff.
oh my
There
gosh.
was a part where
Eh,
she was lifting up her arms, but her arms were staying in the exact same direction while her hips were moving. And I'm like, wait, why are you walking like that?
like I can't believe that had such a huge budget for the time. Obviously it didn't make money. She actually got was a super good sport about it. Have you ever heard of the Razzie Awards?
Yes.
She got it for worst movie of all time. And she's like, thank you, Warner Brothers. It was cute. I like it. And she's a very pretty woman. But what I didn't understand is at the beginning of the movie, she like almost can't control it. Like she says stuff to her boss and tells him off, and then she's like, I'm sorry. And then she doesn't remember stealing the jewelry. Like, is she supposed to be coming into her powers, or is she two different entities?
That's what I was wondering during the entire movie, because Ophelia, the woman with the cat Midnight, they were talking and she was like, am I still gonna be me, or are they like two separate people? She's like, no, Catwoman is you. It's just your innermost desires coming out. And I'm like, you have a desire to steal? Maybe you should keep that in check then. I don't but then like later in the movie when she gets arrested, and the cop guy was like, you know, you had the gun or whatever, or you did this, and she's like, no, Catwoman had it. And he's like, what difference does it make? And I'm like, seriously, everybody's been saying that you guys are the same, like one, but you're still acting like they're two different people.
I know, I didn't quite understand it. That Ophelia character too, you mentioned her, I thought it was hilarious because she goes to walk out of the house the first time she goes there, and she throws catnip at her. She starts rolling in it.
And then she has like catnip on her lips. And I'm like, hey, listen, catnip is a really good digestive aid. They got it in tea versions.
I know, but like the whole concept of her actually becoming, I think the director's name was like Pietov or something. It was just one single name when I looked it up. But I don't think he understood why people are drawn to that character. I don't think he realized, well, clearly he didn't care. Like he just had the name and that's all he went with. But I don't think he understood that, yes, Selena uses the, moniker of Catwoman, but it's not because she's a cat. It's because she's agile and able to, be extremely, I guess the best word is agile in certain situations. And not only that, but she's got cats around her, yes. But it is simply like, her name. It is nothing more than that. It's not like she uses the claws, she uses the whip, she uses the black leather, but well, sometimes purple, but even so. But nothing about it is her being an actual cat. Like she doesn't sleep on her bookshelves.
Yeah, she slept on her bookshelf. She slept on the floor where there's a bunch of pillows. And I'm just like, they really want her to be a cat. And I'm like, if this has been going on for centuries, how did the other ones do? Were they acting the same exact way? I mean, if it was happening since back then, they probably burned them thinking that they were witches or something.
Well, and how did Ophelia know everything about these Catwoman women and then not become one herself? Was she the mentor of the previous one? Was she one and it was passed on to Midnight? Like,
that's what I want to know, because she said that she was like a historian of some sort, and she's been studying this for like 20 years. But like I'm like, were you ever one? Do you just study it? How did you know that your cat, is giving people life just because
did you notice
an Egyptian Mao?
Well, did you notice like the kind of feminism added into it when she was like male academia? You know what I mean? Like she didn't get tenure.
There's a lot in here. Like I think the cop guy was the only good guy in the movie.
Yeah, Benjamin Bratt. I like him as an actor. But whoa.
I think this is my first time seeing him.
You've never seen Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange.
From Marvel.
Oh, magician guy. Who did he play there?
He was the guy that had the bad back in that.
I'm not gonna remember that. Probably
yeah, that's okay.
Nobody.
But you know what? He's a good actor. He really is. But all the like smiley stuff back and forth was super cringe. And like putting that into modern time, like he found her wallet, he chased her down. Sort of weird. He's a cop. I get it. But then she like follows him to a school.
Well, like when he first appeared at her job, I'm like, excuse me, and she's like, oh my gosh, hi, and I'm like, hi, this random man just shows up at your job and you don't even know he's a cop yet, or no, she does know she's he's a cop, but like, why do you not think this is weird for him to suddenly just show up at your job just because he's good looking? And then the same happens in the opposite when she visits him from the school. And I'm like, nobody thinks this is weird. Is this normal?
It's super weird. The funny thing about this is, I was looking through it, and mind you, this is only almost 20 years ago. This movie came out, and I'm looking through it, and I'm like, you know, this has all the monikers of like what people want nowadays. It had diversity. It had Sally as a body positive character. It had a gay man in it. It had a mean capitalist. It had femme fatale. Like, it has all of the staples of a good movie.
So much feminism.
Yeah, and it was like, how did you go wrong? How did you go so wrong? Like, I felt like part of it with Sharon Stone was kind of not even acting. When she was sitting there and she's like, after 40, they just threw me away. Like, I feel like she meant that a little bit. Don't get me wrong, Sharon Stone's a beautiful woman, but Hollywood's also a terrible place, right? So
yeah, especially when you get older.
Yeah, like, I felt like she kind of meant that. She kind of did. Like, she was probably a little bit more able to deliver that line well because she was like, yeah, fuck Hollywood. Like, I'm playing the bad guy in a Catwoman movie. I am officially over that 40. And she looks good. She looked very, very almost kind of like fakey good, like filtery good. Yeah. Like, her skin was absolutely stunning, but that,
I thought she was in her 30s or something. Like a little bit late into her 30s, but not 40s.
No, she's probably in her, well, now she's probably damn near 60, but she looked amazing. She was probably my, like, out of everyone, yeah, she's 63. I just looked it up. Wow. So she would have been 53, 43. Yeah, that makes about sense. Out of everyone, I think she played the role the best because you were able to kind of get like why she did it. You've seen that her husband was an absolute asshat. But the best part I think is when he goes to slap her, and it's the worst slap ever. Like, it's the fakest slap ever.
His hand like curved into like a karate chop, and I'm like, were you trying to karate chop her face? Like, hiya.
Oh my God. It kind of did. I almost thought it looked like he was like faking the thing. But now that you say that, yeah, you're right. Like, that whole plan she schemed up working with her and then putting the gun, like throwing a gun and having her prints on it would not, like, all she would have had to do was go to the cops and go, look, I'm being framed. You can, see all of this different type of evidence. There's enough forensic type of evidence, even 20 years ago, to make them realize that, Sharon's character was the bad person in this. But
it also made no sense for her to give her the gun. She's wearing gloves.
Oh my God, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, so her prints wouldn't appear on it anyway.
Oh my God, I didn't even catch that. Yes, that makes zero sense now. I
don't know how prints work, but if she grabbed the gun and she gave it to a person who's wearing gloves, do her prints still appear, or are they gone because the person with gloves touched them?
I'm assuming they would be smudged, don't you think?
Probably. I was wondering, like, if there's enough like print identification to still find out that it was
you would think so.
I will say about Catwoman's outfit, I didn't know there was holes in her pants.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that at all until I sent you that video. I'm like, why is there holes? And then I looked at the what's it called? The DVD cover, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there was holes. I hate it.
I kind of love it.
But that's because I'm the person who doesn't like ripped jeans or anything. I just hate holes in pants in general, or holes in clothes in general, and I'm like, I just don't like holes. Fill up the holes. So
what about the top of her outfit?
The top of her outfit, I think it's fine.
I like the back a lot, like the open back.
The back is really good.
The cowl that she's wearing clearly did not fit her.
No. Also, was she wearing when she cut her hair to like a shortened when she cut her hair and her hair is short, was that a wig she was wearing, or was the long hair the wig, or did they just cut her hair?
Because I think feel like the long hair was the wig.
Really? Because like there were some parts of angles on some scenes of her short hair, and it felt like her hair was overlapping.
You might be right. Face. I don't know. I hated her hair short. I think it looked
me
awful.
Too. I forgot that she cut her hair. I'm like, no, you could have kept the long-haired Catwoman. Also, I had a problem with her wearing the same clothes to work for 2 days in a row.
Right?
And I'm like, well, first of all, like, you don't even have to be fashionable. Just wear regular pants, wear a regular shirt. The fact that she had to cut her hair and be Catwoman so she can wear a sweater vest and regular pants, when that's just a normal outfit that you can wear while you're still nerdy. Like, I love sweater vests. That's why I have a few, because they look so nice, you know. But you can wear that while you're nerdy and clumsy or whatever. You don't have to be like confident to like now wear that kind of stuff.
It was really weird because that first outfit she's wearing, the brown with the brown pants, was like plus size clothes on a teeny little girl. Like, I get you're trying to make her look nerdy, but you're making her look sloppy.
It was ugly. It's like she was wearing some sort of clothes with like a shawl on it, because there was some like opened area around her shoulders, and I'm like, well, what the crap is this? Why is it so big? Why is it going over your shoulders?
And she's in graphic design working for a beauty company. Okay, all right, I guess so. And then they it doesn't get even any better. Like, I noticed you talked about the cuts, but like in that scene where she steals the motorcycle and has keys for a motorcycle, I guess
that's not even hers.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. The way that the cinematography is so choppy and almost like nauseating how bad it is.
Yes. Also, she could have just called the cops on the party.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say about the party scene. She's yelling out her window, Could you please turn the music down? What? You call the cops. What?
It's a what's it called? A noise complaint, you know?
Yes.
Like, why she's the only one complaining, I have no idea.
And she's like across the street. You would think the neighbors would be the first to complain.
Especially ones in that exact building they're in.
And she like kicks down the door like, oh my God, it's so crazy.
And then that's when she keeps cocking her head to the side.
It is so
like she's possessed.
Speaking of cocking her head to the side, the scene where she like gets the cat burps so she wakes up is so creepy. Like, I thought the movie doesn't know what it wants to be, right? It doesn't know if it wants to be a superhero movie or like this. And Bane realized I was recording and is now running out here.
I'm telling you, he knows.
He's so smart. He's like, he hears my voice talking to somebody. He's like, yep, I gotta run out. So where she wakes up and she's seeing like this spider and the birds, that was like straight up horror movie shit.
I was so confused. I'm like, does her eyes need to adjust or something? Or is it like her peripheral vision was all out of whack? Like, she was seeing birds closer than her, and she was like trying to catch a spider, but she was missing the entire time. And I'm like, where are you aiming? And then I thought she was gonna cough up a hairball.
Oh my God, that would have been as bad as using a litter box.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh no, she's just breathing, I guess.
Oh my God, it's so bad. And then we don't really see her use that like to her benefit barely at all, even when she's with the robbers or the bad guy. Like, besides when she's on maybe the Ferris wheel, does she even use like that vision she gets? Like, that's the only scene we really see it in.
Mm-hmm. She mostly uses her hearing in the movie.
Wait, when?
Maybe it happened once or twice then.
Well, no, I just don't remember, but
I don't remember either. I don't want to though.
Like, I hate that she walks by dogs and hisses. I hate that she hissed at the bad guy. And what I hated even more,
she hissed at the cop too.
Yeah, when she was in the jail cell, she was like, the cat comes up and she's like, oh, now I can fit through the bars. The bars are like 2 foot apart. And she's teeny tiny. Like, of course you can.
And she's wearing what's this, like soft loose clothing too, so like it'll be a lot easier getting through the bars. Just slip right through.
And then she like teleports.
Yeah, she does this thing where she's on one side and then boom, she's on the other side. And I'm like, that's not what a cat does. But apparently the Egyptian Mal has powers that it was doing the exact same thing. So I'm not sure if that's what they're hinting at.
Probably. That
also,
makes sense.
I know a lot of pit bulls who sleep with their cats.
A lot of pit bulls?
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of pit bull people, and they have cats, and they would tell me that they sleep together.
Aw, the only pit bulls we have around here are mean. I don't understand what this, like, for the entire length of the movie, I was trying to figure out what this was actually supposed to be. Was it supposed to be like something that you enjoy? Was it supposed to be something that you laugh at? Like, it felt like more than anything than a superhero movie. It felt like a romantic comedy.
And then the just romance just doesn't happen.
I know, and she leaves him at the end.
You mother crapper. And she's like, sometimes I'm bad. And then she's like, sometimes I'm good. And I'm like, the only bad thing you did was you stole, but then you gave it right back and gave cupcakes.
Exactly. So you're
is
not
that gonna
that bad.
keep happening, or like they don't emphasize if this is gonna keep if this is going to be like a reoccurring thing. Also, she was fired from her job. Is she going to get another job? Like, she's painting. Is she going to be a painter?
And the only thing the only thing I did like, but it was super weird, was the moon shots. But it was like in the city that they're in, which wasn't even Gotham. The moon is full every single night.
I saw it. But I didn't realize it in my brain that it doesn't happen a lot.
Like, it was a pretty shot, kind of, a little bit, maybe somewhat, but it was like every night. Like, I get it, it's Catwoman with the moon, it's kind of iconic, but come on, like, her running, when she steals that money or those jewels initially, that running, like, is so choppy where she runs around. Oh my God, it gave me a headache. It was so bad. Like, have you ever seen Halle Berry in anything else besides being Storm?
Yeah. I believe there was this, I don't know if it was considered an indie movie, and I don't remember the name because I wasn't the one who chose to watch it. It was already on when I was visiting a family member. So in this movie, Halle Berry is a mother. She has a kid. The whole plot of the movie is that her kid gets kidnapped and she tries to like find him herself. But they do it really stupid. So she does this thing with her kid where she says Marco, and then he responds with Polo, so she can know that he's there. I'm like, my mom does something similar when we were little kids at a store, and then that's when we were like, oh, we hear the call, we're coming right over. And so she does this thing where she's like at a park, she's on the phone talking to some important thing or whatever. And so, but the thing is, she looks away from her kid while she's on the phone call, and then she says Marco, and then she looks back at her kid and he says Polo. And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't have to look away from your kid. look at your kid while taking the phone call, because that's how he gets kidnapped, because she looked away and he didn't respond with polo. And I'm like, yeah, you should have freaking watched your kid. You don't have to look away for a phone call, bro.
And then was she, how was her acting? I wondered.
Also, I guess it's just that the script was just really bad, because during the entire movie, she's chasing the kidnapper with her car, and like 20 minutes of driving.
Oh my goodness.
So not much acting. But then there's a scene where the kidnapper stops the car, gets out, she's looking at him, and I'm like, cool, this is your chance, run him over. And then he just looks at her, and then you know that how some people do that thing where they like raise their hands up, like, what you gonna do, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
And so then he gets back into his car and then drives off again, and she's like running out of gas, and I'm just like, you could have run him over. You could have run him over.
Oh my god.
The movie would end, and I'm like, but that would have been great. Run the guy over. He's literally the only one. You could have just saved your kid then and there. She was just looking in horror, and I'm just like, you could have just run him over, and get your kid out of the car.
I've never seen her besides in Storm, right? So I was going to this movie like, I've heard, you know, everyone thinks she's beautiful. She's this good actress. I thought it was Jada Pinkett Smith. I thought they were the same person until last night. And I'm like, I love this girl. She was in Gotham and she was so good. She's such a good actress. And I'm like, oh, no, this is somebody completely different. Like,
you thought they were the same?
Yeah, I thought I do that a lot. I don't know actresses and actors outside of like Warner Brothers properties. I know this is Warner Brothers, but it's old. I don't know them very well. So I'm like, okay, I know this girl. She took her eye out in Gotham. I love her. And I'm like, oh, this is clearly not the same person. She cannot act. And all she does is move her head side to side and make me feel uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh. I will say that the acting in here is not even bad. It's just like you said, the cinematography, the script is just like the overall talking of what they talk about is bad, and then just like Halle Berry just trying to be a cat. And the choreography freaking sucks. I look at it and I'm just like, no, that didn't connect well. No, that would make no sense. No, why would you this and not do that? It's like they tried really hard to make the choreography look good by doing a lot of cuts and edits. And I'm like, well, no, you just made it worse. They're like, she does a cartwheel, shot changes, and it hits somebody. And I'm like, it could have been just one shot. But they like to do that a lot. One thing that did irritate me was that when she was in the company trying to give like to do this deadline thing,
right,
and then they're talking about one of the guys was talking about the side effects of the cream, and he was like, I don't care if the FDA didn't detect headaches or whatever. I don't care if they become addicted to it. I just care that they look ugly when they wear it. And I'm just like, your priorities are right there. Amazing. You should get fired. But I don't remember.
And then even with Sharon at the end, her character, she looks when she's hanging there about to fall.
Oh my gosh.
She looks in the mirror and she sees that her face is messed up, and it scares her so bad she falls. Like,
is that what happened? Because I was so confused. She looks at her face, and I'm like, oh, is she gonna look at her face and be like, the heck with this, I'm just gonna die? But then she's like, help me, and I'm like, oh, why would really, you want help? Okay. And then she reaches out and then she falls, and I'm like, wow, you didn't even try. And then when she's falling, it's replaced with a doll.
I know, and it's going over and over and over,
spiraling out of control. And I'm just laughing. And I'm like, that looks so funny. It reminds me of That's So Raven. Every time when That's So Raven falls from like the rooftop or whatever, it's a freaking doll. And then she just comes back up and she's like, I'm okay.
Oh my god, it was so. And then like, I don't know how she didn't know she was gonna double cross her. She was in the room when she accidentally heard her talking about she didn't care about this and how, it was going to be pushed out anyways. And it would have been a class action lawsuit. It would have been easily stoppable. Like, you could remove Catwoman from this entire movie, have the product go out, and within weeks there would have been a huge lawsuit. But she was in the room, and then she still trusts her. And did you notice when she picks up that Nokia phone when the lady calls her, it's like a video feed?
I was like, is this FaceTime?
Like 2004? Come on now. You could have just done a voiceover. We know who the character was. You didn't have to like, oh God, it's so bad. There are certain movies that are bad that I kind of love. Like, one specifically is Elektra.
Oh,
I can enjoy it. This one, I could not even like stop cringing the entire time.
For me, it's a Big Trouble in Little China. I'm like, this is not a good movie, but it's so much fun to watch.
I've never seen that before. What's that about?
It's a John Carpenter movie, and I didn't realize it was by John Carpenter until like a couple months ago. What is it about? Everything's just so all over the place. But Raiden from Mortal Kombat, yes.
Oh, of course.
That's where he gets his look from. There's like five warriors on there that all look like Raiden, and they have like different elements. And so that's where the inspiration for Raiden came in.
Oh, that's so cool. I had no idea. I liked, some of John Carpenter's work. I'm not a huge... Is it a horror film?
I feel like it was supposed to be, but I ended up laughing. There's an actor. I don't know his first name. I know his last name is Russell. This was like in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This was like he was like really, really young. So he's like really, really handsome, has the mullet and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Some of the romance was like cringy. I'm like, nah, that wouldn't fly today. But I'll leave it since it was like the 80s or whatever. There's that famous Asian guy with the high squeaky voice. I forgot his name. But he was like the villain. I won't remember. But he's I believe he's a comedian too.
Is there any versions of Catwoman live action that you would, if somebody needed like a palate cleanser after watching this, that you would suggest that they watch? Like, who's your favorite Catwoman?
Honestly, probably just Michelle Pfeiffer. But if I wanted like a better fun one that's also black, then why not oh no, don't tell me I forgot her name. She was the one
Eartha
from
Kitt?
Yeah, Eartha Kitt, thank you.
Oh yeah, that's a good choice. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, she was the original and she was so good at what she did. Like, I love that old campy Adam West stuff. It's so fun and so silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, so the cringe doesn't matter, right? Like, you can see Batman dancing around and it's just funny because the whole thing is funny. There's actually, I would say, there's a lot of good Catwomen, supposedly, kinda. But have you ever watched the show Gotham by chance?
Nope. But everybody always recommends it, so I know I have to watch it soon. The only
you are missing out.
It was because I wasn't sure how I felt about the whole Penguin like having a crush on Riddler. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Why would you need a crush on another villain? I don't know. Ugh.
With context, it actually works out really well. I know there was like a big campaign to make them a couple in it, and they're like, nah, we're not going there. But that Selena Kyle, she starts very young. She starts like, 8-10 years old, you see her. And she grows up with Bruce because he's the same age. So you see it kind of progress over 5 seasons. And you see like, she's not so two-dimensional. She wants the best for Bruce. She wants, little bit selfish, of course, because it's Selena Kyle. She wants the best for her. And then you see her like interact, kind of take Poison Ivy under her wing when she's a kid. You see, they kind of retcon it a little bit. So she's actually at the scene when his parents get murdered. Like, that Selena Kyle to me is such a good palate cleanser. That whole show is to me. I was kind of the same. I didn't know how they were going to do like a very young Bruce with Gotham and kind of focusing on the GCPD, whereas, instead of focusing on Bruce, but it actually gives like really cool origin stories to all of these characters. Like Zaz to me is one of those quintessential detective characters you need to use. And in this show, he's so funny. He's so like charismatic. I don't know. Like if there was one, obviously it would probably be Michelle Pfeiffer, but she is a very close second, especially compared to like, I can't think of her name, that played in the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't think she was a very good Catwoman, in my opinion. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She wasn't very charismatic like I feel Catwoman should be. So this little girl, she's got curly hair and she grows up and she becomes pretty, and they you actually see, at the end of the whole season, not to give too many spoilers away, but it goes into the part where he would go off to Roz and learn from him and do all of that. So you see that kind of emotional, what's the best? This emotional journey between it.
Dang it.
What's that?
I was going to say emotional baggage.
Well, yeah, that too. They have a lot of emotional baggage, but it's like, there are so many good versions, like in the comic books, like, what's it called? A Week in Rome. Oh my gosh, it's Jeff Loeb and not Tim Sale, but I forget the artist. It's When in Rome. It's like my favorite Catwoman story because it really takes her out of Gotham and puts her in Rome, and you see her. There's so many good stories. Why the hell did they not read a single one of them to create this movie? Like, not a single one.
So I was reading the comment section about why everybody likes this movie and how they don't understand why this movie is considered bad.
What?
Their reasoning, they said, I don't understand how this movie is bad. You have Halle Berry and she looks great. How is this movie bad? And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? That's it? And they're like, well, the acting is good. I'm like, yeah, the acting is good. What about everything else? The only good thing I actually like about this entire movie is the soundtrack. Soundtrack's really good.
That wasn't bad at all. I'll give it that.
Oh shoot, what was I talking about before I derailed?
About the comment section?
Yes. So one person said that they honestly wanted to do their own Catwoman story where she's just Catwoman 24/7, and I'm like, but they didn't show that because she's still Patience Phillips when in the mornings, but we don't know what the heck she's doing in the morning because she lost her job. And she still has an apartment, I guess.
Movie magic. Oh my god, that's so funny. So yes, I absolutely cringe and died, and this movie is never to be watched again. This is when you watch and throw away the key. Like, it was so bad. Is there anything else you wanted to add that we missed?
Okay, let's see. I talked about the choreography and everything. Where did she get her whip?
Ooh.
Because first she started when she was like crashing that party. If you hear raining, I'm sorry. She grabbed, like, what's it called? The alcohol dispenser or the soda dispenser thing, and she used it like a whip. And then next scene, like, she has a whip, and I'm like, where'd you get that? You didn't have it before.
She teleported it in.
She stole it. Did she make it? Is she an artist still? Also, why didn't they show? Not one time did I see a Scottish fold. That's my favorite cat.
I like how they had the Egyptian mouse though.
Egyptian mouse. I'm really happy they did that because you don't see a lot of Egyptian mouse.
I actually had one when I was younger. But it was super mean. Like, my dad had it, and he was like babysitting it because these people were moving, and we had it for a while, and then they never came back and got it. And it was during the summer, and I would stay there every once in a while. So this cat was super mean, and it like was not personable. It didn't like the fact that it was away from its owners. I slept on the couch for a week because it decided my bed was where it was going to sleep, and I was too scared to go pick it up.
I wouldn't even pick it up. Like,
it was so mean, and it was kind of like bigger than an average cat. So I'm like, this is like, at 8 years old, I'm like, this is like a bobcat. It's going to kill me. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Right decision, the correct decision.
Exactly.
Actually,
I love
in my
it.
mom's country, when she was a little kid, she visited somebody's house, and I'm looking through her old photos, and ones where she was a kid, and she's holding on to a wild cat. I don't remember if it was like an ocelot or something like that. And I was like, Mom, you're holding a wild cat. And she's like, yeah, it was my neighbor's. And I'm like, did it hurt you? She's like, no. And she's like so small, and she's holding it up by the freaking armpits.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh,
like,
that's
oh
so
my
funny.
gosh, I get to brag about it now. Like I am
Right?
right now.
Exactly. So let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on. We will have, of course, another episode next week as well. And yeah, don't waste your time unless you just want some cringe. Definitely, for sure, cringe.
But listen to the soundtrack if you can find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, there
the
you
soundtrack is
go.
pretty good.
Yeah, much better. The soundtrack is much better than the entire movie in 1.25 speed, because I'm jealous about that. So we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.